Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this amazing moment that we share here on Saturdays and connecting still online soon to be on the physical side. But until then, we're still here connecting with one another, enlightening our lives together. Today, we're not going to announce it. Some of you already know, but we'll announce it when we have to announce it. Well, we broke the announcement. We have Yasko back with us today. So it's a great thing to have you here, Yasko, again. For those of you who know, Yasko is no longer here in the US with us, but she is streaming live, connected with us from Brazil, in the state of Sao Paulo, where she's originally from. And we're very glad to have you back here. But before I pass the word to you, Yasko, give me a moment just to read a passage of the happy book, Happy Life, and so we can say our prayer together as well. Joanna de Angelis in this amazing book says the following: in a 24-hour day, reserve a few moments for reflection. The person who proceeds without meditating loses contact with himself. Curl by the hands of the clock, or out in front of them, or behind them, he becomes confused and loses his way. A periodic, a periodic review of goals and actions is indispensable to success. As you reflect, you will review your mistakes and have time to repair them. You can reprogram your tasks and renew yourself more easily. Speak less, sleep a little less, and meditate more. Otherwise, wasted minutes that you use for meditation will be transformed into points of light in your day. This amazing topic that Jonah DeAngelo brings to us goes hand in hand with what Yasko will be talking about later on today. That we are not our mistakes or failures, that we need to learn from them. But before we ask our dear Lord, our Mother, Father God, to guide us into this moment, let us bring to heart in a kind and creative way, curious way, to connect perhaps with the mistakes of the past, perhaps with the moments that we have erred towards one another, towards ourselves, in which we need to rescue and learn from it. So that tonight, as we listen to our dear friend Yasko, we can connect with it as if we were the kind brother, sister, or mother, or father, trying to soothe those moments and try to look at it from a different perspective with different lenses. As we also ask for the guidance of our mentors to guide us all into this realization. We also take the moment, dear Lord, to take this message to our brothers and sisters who cannot be with us, those who are in need of a moment like this. And why not extend this moment towards those who are going through the inner wars, the wars of the heart, of the mind, and the physical one as well. Praying for this planet as we come together as brothers and sisters in need to make a better life for us and for others, and dissipate from our vocabulary, our minds, and our hearts, and from the face of the earth, the idea of wars. With no further ado, we ask you, dear Lord, that you guide us and the speaker of this evening, and so be it. So, as we were saying earlier, back again here with us, connecting with us, stopping whatever she's doing to, share with us in a very important topic, which is our mistakes, our failures that sometimes can hunt us, can really, instead of helping us progress, it holds us back, right, Yasko? So, Yasko will be speaking about we are not our mistakes or failures. Let us learn from them. Go ahead, Yasko. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So long time already, more than 2 months that I left United States. It's so nice to be with you. I'm not seeing you, but I know you there. And thank you so much for joining us in this talk. And today, let me share my screen. Uh, we are not our mistakes or failures. Yogananda said in one of his sayings, is a diamond less valuable because it is covered with mud? God sees the changeless beauty of our souls. He knows we are not our mistakes. So that mud can be covered, that diamond can be covered by mud, but inside is the same diamond, has the same value. On the other hand, here you have a picture of that woman that was caught in adultery and was almost stoned in front of Jesus. And Jesus, in front of all the people that wanted him to condemn her, to let people stone her to death, he did, we're going to talk about. But in the end, he says, they did not condemn you, neither do I condemn you. So let's learn instead, define ourselves by our mistakes or failures. Let's learn from them. In this passage, Jesus, that was narrated in John 6, verse 37, Jesus says, all that the Father gives me shall come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never cast out. I will never drive them away. I will accept. I have a lot of indulgence for the imperfection of everyone that comes to me. He showed no judgment, all forgiveness. He spread hope, faith, redemption when all the sinners came to him and asking for his acceptance. So let's see some examples. We all know, that Jesus, he showed all these virtues of acceptance, indulgence, no judgment, forgiveness, hope, faith, redemption, in many instances that are very famously described in the Bible. For instance, this is the case, is picturing the case of Zacchaeus, the tax collector, hated by his fellow citizens because he was collecting taxes for the Roman Empire from those farmers, fishermen, that they were his people. So he was so hated, but he was in his way of realizing that that was not the life he wanted. So when he heard that Jesus was passing by that area, he wanted to see Jesus. As the story says, he was short, so he went up to the tree, and he was really surprised by Jesus saying to him, come down. I tonight want to dine in your home. So he felt so accepted, he that was feeling so in guilt, so hated by his people and hating himself. Here comes Jesus and accept him and say, I'm gonna go to your house. The other example, very iconic example of acceptance and indulgence, forgiveness, is the case of Simon Peter. Remember, he was the person that stayed so close to Jesus during the 3 years of his ministry. And in the last moment, he denied Jesus for 3 times. He felt so ashamed when he saw Jesus' eyes on him, saying, "Didn't I tell you that you would deny me?" He felt so ashamed. And because of this failure, of this pain, and Jesus' acceptance of him and making him be the authority above the other disciples, he became Peter, the head of the church, the Christian church. Mary Magdalene, too. He was hated. She was filled of guilt because she was taken as the prostitute or the hated by the women or the ladies or the wives, loved by the husbands or the men during the night, but renegade during the day. And she was feeling so bad, although she was in a rich palace, had money, beauty. She wanted to change her life, and she went to Jesus. And what did Jesus? Accepted her, received her, and gave her hope and faith, ways for redemption. Be the mother of those that didn't have mothers, because child she could not have. And Jesus, in return to her uh, honesty and acceptance of the new life, she was the chosen for him to appear first after his crucifixion and when his resurrection. Mary Magdalene was the first to be chosen to see him uh, come back from the death. And the other situation that I told you, the woman that was caught in adultery, and all these people came to Jesus and asking him, what should they do with this woman caught in adultery? And Jesus said the famous phrase to them, to the old ones, to the young ones. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. So he was trying to get all these people to think about themselves. Are they also without sin? Is there someone without failures, mistakes, heavy or light sin? Why are they condemned? Making Jesus choose to stone her or to deny Moses' law. And Jesus finalizing, woman, where are they? Because one by one, all these people, from the old to the young, went home because no one was without sin. So, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, sir, she said. Then neither do I condemn you. Go now and live your life of sin. Live away, let it go. This old life of you that you're feeling in sin. So he always gave, not only forgave, but gave hope and faith for those people that wanted to change their old life. Peter, Zacchaeus, the woman caught in adultery. So in the Spirit's book, Kardec in question 115 asks, have some spirits been created good and others evil? Because if we are condemning, if we are judging others, we are feeling we are better than them. So I have the advantage to be created better than the others or someone worse than me. Why I have this feeling, this right to judge others, to feeling better than the others. And the spirits answer, God has created all spirits simple and ignorant, i.e., without knowledge. So, ignorant in the sense they don't know better. God has given each of them a mission. This mission is aimed at enlightening them and progressively leading them towards perfection through knowledge of the truth. So we all have a mission. Can be a simple mission, can be be a mother, be a father, take care of some pets or whatever, little mission. But we have that mission was given specifically for each one of us, aiming at enlightening us. If for me to be enlightened, I have to have a mission of motherhood, so be it. But I may not. It has to be to be a teacher, to be other type of worker. Nevertheless, the mission was given to us in order for us to progress through failures, through mistakes, but learning from them. And Kardec, in the Spirits Review in the magazine in 1858, I got this saying, indeed, all men are capable of making mistakes. However, there is greatness in recognizing their own mistakes, while there is bitterness in sustaining an opinion that is known to be false, solely to display a pride of infallibility. Sometimes we are so proud, we have this pride that we don't want anyone to know we are fallible, we make a mistakes, and we stick to that opinion that we know it is not the truth, just because we cannot recognize our mistakes because of our pride, and what we keep smashing others because of our pride. Joanna de Angelis says in the psychography by Paulo Franco, in search for inner illumination, bless the distressing trials that pierce your heart and trouble your mind. Under the rush of suffering, the human beings are led to reflection that enlighten them about the meaning of bodily existence. So we are in this incarnated existence in order to, through mistakes, suffering from mistakes, we are forced to reflect upon them. And this reflection will lead to enlightenment. So the terrestrial incarnated existence is for us, is a school for us to learn how to, through mistakes, because we all make mistakes, through failures, overcome, understand, reflect, and don't decide not what route go in order not to redo the same mistakes. So, if errors are part of life, is they are saying all the high spirits, Jesus, everyone said, errors are part of life in this stage that we humans are in this planet of trial and expiation. So why we take them so badly to the point we let these mistakes that we made define our life, our destiny. We are sometimes kill ourselves because of this guilt, these mistakes, this finger pointing on us, sometimes our own finger pointing to us. We have fear of making mistakes. Why we have this fear of making mistakes? And to the point that we get even sick of it. Well, in distant as distant ancestors, if we are living this wild, hunting, avoiding predators, mistakes can be your life. You make mistake, you are deeply injured, you can die. So with this experience, those that survived, the brain captured that experience and had to learn from that mistakes in order for the rest of the people generation survive from that. The narrative was passing through the different people, and the experience is learned. So it is very important for the brain to try to predict the future and to see the past, the experience, in order to minimize the mistakes in the new encounter, for instance, that you have with a beast, with a wild animal, for instance. And of course, Charles Darwin, in his declared that organisms that are unable to adapt to the demands of their environment, if we don't adapt, we don't learn from the experience, will fail to pass to the genes that experience, and consequently, they're going to be wiped out. There is an ecological demand to avoid the predators. You have to learn very quickly, adapt to get out from that experience. Otherwise, that species is going to be wiped out. So in terms of psychology of fear of making mistakes, fear of making, we sense that those fingers pointing to us. So where this coming from, this sensation that people are watching us, demanding for us? So since early lives in society, we fear making or facing mistakes because they were seen as sins. The mistakes were defined as sins. So sin, it was also more enhanced, or how to say, the church or the authorities made these mistakes feel much more painful, because what they say, sin, the sin is seen as ugly behavior. It's ugly, practiced by bad people. You made a sin, you are bad people. You go to hell. Wow, go to hell. You go to hell. So we learn to associate this bad, the sin, the mistake, to bad emotional consequence. Very painful. So what we did, we tried either to avoid, to be caught in sinning. How many times we tried to hide that we made a mistake? Yeah. And if someone catches us, we try to hide or attribute our mistakes to others. Oh no, it was him, not me. Since we are kids, we're trying to do that. And that with some kind of sophistication, even in the adult stage, we try to hide our mistakes. Not only because of our pride, but because we learn is embedded there that this is bad. This is a sin. I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to be condemned, not even during the life, but after death even. Imagine. So the question is really the mistakes, our mistakes, that will imprison us in this suffering, this hell, or is the way we deal with the mistakes that paralyze us in this emotional torture? Because there are people that can make a mistakes, not that they are cynical about their mistake. No, they take seriously, but they have some rationale to avoid this emotional torture. They use the frontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, to do some kind of rationale in order to say, look at that, I made a mistakes. I should not make again the same mistakes. So let's move on. Or be there, why didn't I make a mistake? Why did I do that? I should know better. Why do? And we condemn ourselves, feeling imprisoned in this, what is called hell of suffering. Or we understand why we made the mistakes and get out, not to be paralyzed from that. Look at that. Thomas Edison, how many times he failed until he succeeded to make that lamp to work, the bulb, light bulb to work. So many metals, so many filaments, thousands and thousands times. And what, although his assistant would say, why try again? You're not going to get, you try so many. He said, no, I already know 10,000 ways that won't work. He's a learning. Next time may work, and worked. So in our brain that is called triune brain, we have what is here the survival brain, that is a very old brain, the reptilian brain, that is the survival brain. But there is this important part of the brain, the emotional brain, the limbic brain, where all the emotional experience and response to events is stored there and can be fired up, can be brought to conscience over and over and torturing us. But we have also what we call thinking brain, the neocortex, the frontal cortex. That's what we have to use in order to control the emotional brain when it is in imbalance. So the ancestral background of fear, guilt, we all know that is impressed in this reptilian or emotional or limbic brain. And when these are areas, in these areas of the experience, we learn to associate sins and mistakes to bad emotional consequence. And we get paralyzed, as we said before. So now we ask, think about, we have so many things that we want to learn, new language things, run a marathon, go to school, rebuild relationships, ask for forgiveness, apologize to someone. We may take two different alternatives with opposite results. Either we feel stuck. I said, no, I will fail. I will make a mistake in all these actions, new language, etc., relationship, apology, etc. Oh, I will make a mistake. I will fail. I will make a mess. Or I can accept as an experience. Accept all the mistakes and failures as an experience, and say, let me take joy of learning and overcoming the obstacles. How to make the smooth dancing movement. Oh, I may fall many times, but let's try. I will be better and better each time. And see the experience, go to the experience with this joy of learning. What are the bases for this fear of making mistakes? The psychologist says, well, excessive sense, there are many other causes, but excessive sense of perfectionism. Perfectionism is not good for us to get out from the fear of making mistakes. We don't want to make mistakes. And the second, intolerance to ours or others' fallibility. We don't tolerate the failure in ourselves or in others. How perversive excessive perfectionism is. A little bit is good. Of course, we have to seek for perfection. But look, perfection is not attainable, is unrealistic. No one can be perfect. Nothing can do perfectly. There will be always a way to do a little better. Second, we are imperfect beings. Therefore, everyone makes mistakes too. Well, perfectionists have innate fear of making mistakes. Yes, I can't stand it to make mistakes because my standard of perfection is there high, but it's not attainable. Besides, we feel uncomfortable around perfect people. So we don't like to have, because we always are comparing. We don't feel good. So they are not at all perfect, but we define them as more perfect than us. So why say and decide that my neighbor, my colleague is more perfect, is a perfect person? They are not. They may show, they may say loud, but we are not all perfect. But sometimes the person doesn't want even to call themselves perfect. I am defining them as perfect in order to put me down. It's my fault. It's self sabotage. Then we fear also being judged by them. We don't like to be judged. Then we keep running in our brain all the imaginary dialogue of self-criticism. Why did I do that? I should do better. But this may be coming from our childhood. Someone asked too much from that child of me. And that script, that I on me, my grandmother, my mother, my father, my own, whatever, is on me, and that script keep running in my as a broken a tape over and over with image, and I live in hell. Intolerance to fallibility. Perfectionism lead to intolerance to fallibility. I don't tolerate failures. Mahatma Gandhi says, freedom is not worth having if it does not connote freedom to err, to make mistakes. It passes my comprehension how human beings, be they ever so experienced and able, can delight in depriving other human beings of that precious right. What right? To make mistakes, to have the freedom to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We have to learn from the mistakes. Perfectionism breeds intolerance of fallibility. This intolerance places an emotional distance or a harsh criticism of our true being and of our loved ones, spouse, and children. As being so intolerant to their failures, we put a distance to our children because they already know here comes my father with the criticism. Here comes that adult with that eye on me, condemn me, my spouse, my loved one. So I start to put a distance because I can not tolerate failure because of my perfectionism. Perfectionism strips away the joy of experiencing precious moments, tasks, encounters. I'm so afraid to not make mistakes that I don't even go to talk to the person. Hmm? Missing good moments. Because the other person will also make mistakes. So if I go freely, saying that I'm not that perfect, that I won't expect also the other one to be so perfect. Nobody is perfect. Thus, perfectionism leads to unhappiness, lack of joy, and prevents us to live our earthly life, this incarnation in its fullness. Life in earth, the planet of trial and expiation, is filled with imperfection. If I search for perfection in this earthly life, I'm missing all the joy of living and learning from my incarnation in its fullness. So, accepting that humans are fallible and that we all make mistakes opens the doors to tolerance, compassion, peace, gratitude, joy, happiness. Let our perfectionism out. So, how to get out from this undesirable trait? The perfectionist, searching, a lot of criticism, a lot of judgment to others, to myself, not forgiving myself, not forgiving others, etc. There's a lot of books, many books about rewiring your brain. You go to internet, it's really dozens of and I read this book because it was available in PDF. It's very interesting. The synthesis, this book, they say, is a synthesis of psychology, mindfulness, nutritional neuroscience, social intelligence, and facts about the brain's capacity for neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. It's so interesting because it's made for the general public, although he has a book that is more for scholars for to be discussed and analyzed in the schools. But this one is more for the general public. But he gives really not only how, because of the progress of neuroscience now with the image, MRI image, etc., we know which areas are involved in certain type, certain behaviors, certain actions, certain reactions, certain habits, mental habits. So now he not only point out this correlation between the neuroscience, the brain areas function to the behavior, but also give us the way to break this vicious cycle in order using the rational brain, especially the left brain, left frontal cortex, that will control the the limbic area, which is that area of emotional reaction, instinct, almost without rationale, especially the amygdala area. So he gives all. It's very fascinating reading this book. So I put a little bit, some of these highlights of what I read. So neuroplasticity. Everybody now knows that our brain is not hardwired. Indeed, it's soft wired. If it's soft wired, it can be rewired. So, neuroplasticity illustrates the phrase use it or lose it. It's like a muscle. You don't use the muscle, you will lose it. The brain is the same. Every time we remember about a story, depending on the details that we recall, certain synaptic connections are strengthened. So we have how we gonna remember a story, the positive side of the story or the negative part of the story. It's plastic. I can mold, depends on how I use my memory. So nurture nature. As I said, since the brain is not hardwired, is soft wired, and we know also that we can create new synaptic connections. We can even have new neurons. This is our old belief that the brain cells cannot be renewed. Some areas can be renewed with some experience, some learning to use the thoughts, replace the bad thoughts with the good thought, bad habits with the good habits, bad behavior with the good behavior. That the behavior or the thought that will make us get out from the hell and make us feel happier. So they say our experience plays major role in how we nurture our nature, how we can maximize our potential. We have a potential that may have to get out, come out. We can maximize or and minimize our vulnerabilities. Every time we are condemn ourselves over and over again without any rationale, instinctively, with this bad emotion, we have vulnerabilities. We have to minimize that. And we can using the left frontal cortex. Fear, stress through the amygdala from the limbic area can trigger alarm that can be false. Can be false. It's like, someone said to you, you're gonna find something dangerous in front. We didn't even make any reasoning. Is this real that it's gonna appear a tiger? No. And then now any shadow, my amygdala trigger an alarm. Well, let's think about. Is really that shadow there is what I'm fearing is true or not? Cannot be. Can be just some trees, some foliage moving. But I have old emotional memory put it there, and we decide that that's true, but can be false. So how to say to the amygdala, let's not be running my life? Who can control my amygdala to trigger a false alarm, even a false alarm? Or not even that alarm be beyond what is necessary to be? The left prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus work together to tame the amygdala and shut down this axis, which is the stress axis, hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal axis, which is the base for the stress, the maintaining of the stress, anxiety, etc. So it's the prefrontal cortex, the left one, which is rational, that will be together with the hippocampus, that is responsible for the memory, to bring the memory and to put new rational memories in place, that will shut down, tame the amygdala. The key to taming our amygdala is to break this vicious cycle. For that, we ought to expose ourselves to what we were fearful of in the past. So if we have those impact from the bomb, that memory, and we are not in the war anymore. That soldier is not in the memory anymore, in the war anymore. He has not to be put in a closet, not to see, to hear none of the noise. No, he has to be exposed to this noise, but then rationalize, and with the correct psychological therapy. No, this is just a firework. Look, it's nothing to fear. You're not any longer in the war field. It's just a firework. So more and more being exposed to that incident, to that trigger, and putting our left frontal cortex to rationalize, our brain, our amygdala learn to calm down the impact of that old trigger. In this book, also, Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, this lady, Carol Dweck, says that we can change, we can set our mind in our favor, change the power of mistakes in our favor. For that, we have to use what she calls growth mindset. I made also a little summary. Changing our beliefs can have a powerful impact in our passion for learning, despite mistakes may be made. So let's believe, change ourselves, put our mind in a different set. So in order to, now I see learning that always comes with mistakes, a passion, a positive passion. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's mistakes or not. It's part of the learning, it's part of the joy. Why waste time proving over and over how great you are when you could be getting better? Well, I can be better. Why I have to stick in, oh, I'm great already. I'm great. Nothing more I can put in myself. This is terrible. So let's put our effort to get better, no matter what mistake we will make, in order to step forward. Why hide the deficiency instead overcoming them? Why look for friends or partners who will just show off your self-esteem instead of ones who will also challenge you to grow? Well, we have to choose our friends, who we interact with. Those that put us always down, why? Why we are around them? To being help? The growth mindset allows people to thrive during some of the most challenging times of their lives. Yes, we all have challenging times in our lives, relationship, losing job, etc. Let's put a growth mindset to thrive, to go through it, this challenging time. In the growth mindset, failure can be a painful experience, but it does not define us. We have to face the problem, learn from it. And once we say, well, I learned, this is a joy. There is a joy behind that. Spiritual growth. Of course, errors. We know in the end we are immortal spirits. We are passing through this planet incarnating different plans than this one of trial experience, expiation, in order for me as a immortal spirit to grow. And we only grow through experience. If we don't want to pass through the failure and mistakes because of fear, we are missing great part of the reasons why we are here incarnate. Allan Kardec and the noble spirits in the spiritist codification, they offer ways to raise our awareness about the mistakes made, understanding that. So it's not that we have to hide, we don't want to think, oh, we are so cynical, oh, well, we're gonna make mistakes anyway. No, we have to raise our awareness that mistakes were made, but we have to define what mistakes means to me, making mistakes means to me in my life. So errors are part of the process. If I understand that errors are part of the process of spiritual evolution, from the moment I have the free will, the spirit evolved in such a situation that now he can use his free will. Errors, we always make mistakes since that phase that we got the free will to be applied. When before that, no, we don't need even to have a free will because we didn't have any way to process. So we were just a robot being following orders. Errors generate uncomfortable situation as a way of warning about the path to be avoided, not to get stuck in forever guilty of. So if you don't feel bad, how can I know not to make the same mistakes? I have to feel bad. I have to feel guilt. Guilt is good in some amount, in some length, duration is necessary for us to feel bad in order to warn us. Oh, I have to avoid this path. But I cannot be stuck in guilty forever. No. Then the learning stopped because I am in this vicious cycle of my amygdala pointing the finger and running the same tape ever again, over again. Errors promote growth by offering an opportunity to take responsibility for its consequence according to the law of cause and effect. This is why the Spiritism says always is once you know, there is a responsibility with that. If we don't know, no responsibility. But once we know the law, we have the responsibility to follow it, to put in practice, because there is a law of cause and effect. And we're going to be asked to respond for that. In summary, we can positively look at mistakes if we understand that mistakes are inevitable in life, at least in this level that we are in the planet Earth. Everybody is imperfect. I am imperfect. You are imperfect. Of course, our relationship will be filled with mistakes. Learning to appreciate them enables enlightenment and growth. We have to learn from the mistakes, not be stuck. Only those who never did or tried anything don't make mistakes. So every time say, oh, I never made, oh, probably you didn't do that. You were not in charge with that job. That's why you didn't make mistakes. But if you are, you will certainly make some mistakes. Who is considered perfect is not open to change or learn. That part I really got me. Okay, if I consider perfect, I'm not open to learning, to progress. Making mistakes means someone is learning. Oh, this is beautiful. Making mistakes means people is learning. Someone is learning. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. True wisdom requires humility of accepting what we do not know. Let's confess to ourselves in first place. I don't know everything. I will make mistakes, and so what? But I have to learn. Not to first learn not to make mistakes because this means stop suffering. I don't want to suffer with the same mistakes, and also not to cause others to suffer from my mistakes. Indeed, the mental health of the infallible one can be compared to a space that is already completely occupied. Nothing in can be added. If I consider infallible, I cannot learn anything and put anything in my brain, in my soul. I cannot add anything. Only when we remove the old that we are able to, only when we remove the old that we are, that we are able to create a space for the necessary or for the new. So I have to empty the closet, this old stuff, in order to put the new ones, new things in my head. Our choice. Either focus on the result, just result, right or wrong, good or bad. So either good or bad, negative or positive, white and black. Well, no. Or learn from lived experience, regardless of the end result. What we feel, what we observe, what we concluded, this is the most important one, the end result, is to learn about ourselves. Yes, I felt bad. But now, once I realize and make it work, oh, it's a joy. Something to be concluded. For spiritual growth, more than get to the finish line is the path taking. The finish line is so far away, by the way, as an immortal spirit. So let's enjoy the path taking. How much I learned from whom? How many people learn from me too? Hmm? It's an exchange business. Everyone, each one has something to give and to receive. It is during the journey that we grow, hitting or making mistake, smiling or suffering. That's why we often say, as much as I suffer from my mistakes, I also realize that because of the mistakes, I grow and I am what I am. And I am here and I am what I am now. So, learning from our mistakes. We are more than mistakes and failures. So let's not be stuck with us, their definition, the definition of mistakes and failures. No. Let's learn and let's believe I am that diamond. Still, I have some muds, but one day I will fully shine. That's what God, the high spirits, believe and try to pass to us. Thank you.
Yasko, thank you so much for this amazing reminder, and also the coverage that you brought also from these different authors, right? The different examples that you brought at the beginning, and how it affects us, right? And how we can change. So this is an amazing reminder because more often than not, we cannot move on in our lives because we are connected with those moments, right? With these learning processes that we go through, and I think I dare to say here, as you have been, as you brought to us, to let us rename, right? To give a different value altogether to mistakes, right? Instead
Yes,
of mistakes, and say learning process,
experience.
experiences. Yes, and I think we will live in a much more elevated way. And it's the gateway to, as you were speaking, I was thinking about Joanna D'Angeli when she brings to us that, um, or much like Jesus explained to us as well, not to fall in the same um, error, right? But to think before we do it, right? Think before we commit an error or we act, and even when it's something that it may push us to be repetitive, right? To change and say, let me think about this. I already went through this. Let's change the team here so we can win this game this time, right? So thank you again. I would like to not only speak for myself, but I'm quite sure that many of us who will listen to this and who will listen in the future can connect with this so dearly, and it's so uplifting to receive this message. One highlight I would like to bring before we go into the questions here is that at the beginning, also you mentioned, you posed a question that, it's not necessarily the act or the error or the mistake that holds us back, but it's our relationship to that moment, right? To that experience. So that for sure is something that we can take to heart and utilize in our lives daily. I would like just to go over a couple of the hellos here so we can acknowledge everyone. Alba here with us saying, welcome back, Yasko. Iracema, good evening, friends. Welcome, Yasko. A blessed talk for all of us. Our friend Emmanuel Dizon from Sacramento, California. Chris also saying, hi, Yasko. So wonderful to see you. Kirsten also saying, "Wonderful to see you, Yasko," and saying that she was looking forward to this talk as well. Um, she made a comment also. Kirsten made a comment in terms of what you were saying about Jesus, and it's so true. And sometimes, now I don't want to speak for others, but we read these passages of the Bible, we learn with these things, right? But we don't take it to heart. But it is true, so beautiful, as she says here, that you reminded us that Jesus will never turn us away, never reject us, but love us, right? And he exemplified this so beautifully in many occasions, right? That he was there for us. Um, Moving on, even though you brought this to us, I think it was prudent for us to make this question and bring this question here because sometimes it doesn't only happen once. So, what if I had made the same mistake several times? How can I move on and overcome it, especially when others remind me of the past?
Well, that's what in this book, Rewire Your Brain, it brings that we need, of course, we need to go after these memories. That's why the hippocampus is very, very important. Because if you don't bring, you're not able to bring these memories from the past, how you can rationalize now to say, well, that event happened when I was a child.
Mm,
I did not know better. You know, I was an adolescent. I was under pressure. Or I was in a culture where this thing was okay to happen. My father, my grandfather, to have this harsh judgment over me, or to even think, well, this is not for you because you are a woman, you are a girl, whatever it is, because you're poor or you have to work or whatever. So I have to bring, we cannot hide from these memories. We have to bring these memories, but now use my mature brain, especially what we call the left frontal brain. That is the new part the frontal cortex, that is the rational brain to say, wait a minute, but now I am in the 21st century. Things changed. If my father of that person would live today in this society with these values, he probably would act differently. But that time, no, he was young too. We always forget our parents were also young. They were filled with dreams to succeed in life, so many frustration, you know, kids coming in a situation that, economically they were not so in a well situation, good situation. So we have to use our left side rational part to say, look, let's forgive because he was or she was the product of that time. Nobody can be like Jesus that came to planet Earth and was already pure and knew how to forgive, how not to judge, how to be indulgent, how to be benevolent. No, we were in the process of learning. It's very difficult for each one of us, and more difficult, and I feel is is complex because each one of us are in different stage. We are living together, but in a different evolutionary, morally speaking, stage. I may learn, I may understand this part of the problem, but not the other part. And my partner will see better this part, but not the other. And each time we are together, we crash and step on somebody's foot. So it is a learning. But if we say, look, I am imperfect. You are imperfect. Everybody is imperfect. We are gonna make mistakes, and we are all here to learn. So let's calmly, calmly put this on the table and bring the past, but not in an emotional way. First to ourselves, because if I don't rationalize to myself, look, that incident, how can I put in this on the table when in front of that person that I want to complain or want to make him or her understand? First, I have to understand the problem. For that, the memory is the past is important, but we have to learn how to break the vicious circle. But for that, I have to use the reasoning. I'm not any longer in that time. Today is a different time. I learn. I mean, not make it the same mistake with my child. So many learn from that, right? You don't do the things that your mother did or your father did to your child anymore. It's not acceptable because we all evolved. The rules, the guidelines change. The learning and the understanding of the psychology changed. We all evolve. So once I know, I have the responsibility. Before, my parents didn't know. So where is the responsibility? No, no responsibility because they didn't know better. That's how they learn. But now I know. So why condemn and waste my opportunity to move on and pass my experience with new perspective to others? I can pass my bad experience, but now with the connotation, the learning, adding the learning part, and say, look, how much now I learn how not to make that same mistake. I think the way I
Very
see.
well. No, thank you. And this is so crucial to us, Yasu, because more often than not, as well, we tend to fear and either suppress or run from it, right? The issue. And until we acknowledge that there is an issue to be taken care of, something that we need to take care of it, guess what? It's not going to take care of itself, right? People very seldom will come to us and say, "I'm sorry." For this or that happened, until we go and rescue and sit down in front of that individual kindly as well, because we're not going to go ahead and say, "You hurt me." Well, sometimes it
Mhm.
happens, but that's not the way. but to acknowledge that there is a problem. I think this is fantastic. And, if by far, I think this is one of the messages that Spiritism is, helping us understand that in order for us to change, we have to at least accept, look, there's something that needs to be changed here. We're not perfect spirits. They are not perfect spirits.
Yeah.
And we're here to grow. So thank you for the explanation. We move on, and we'll bring Paula here with us, saying, "Great to
Hi,
have you
Paula.
teaching again.
Hi,
Almost as
thank you.
she say, almost as good as being here. Almost, you're right, Paula. If the
Hi.
if the rational analysis, use of positive language and exposure, or just doing it, doesn't fully work due to cellular memory, or I think that she
Lost
is.
something there. Well,
Maybe she's trying. Well, I believe she's trying to connect with this. Let me read again, so maybe it will make sense.
I think
If the rational analysis use the use of positive language and exposures of, or excuse me, just doing it doesn't fully work due to cellular memory, or bioenergetic techniques such as emotional
no, I think
freedom,
it's uh-huh.
or maybe not. Yes, I'm
Yeah,
kind of
what
lost. So,
I understand, yeah, what we think is that the memory is something permanent. It's not. It's fluid, is replaceable by others. Whatever behavior, habit, whatever that imprinted in our cells,
mhm,
we can change it because it's a dynamic chemical, electrical powerhouse. How we change that is start first to face using our memory. Of course, we have to face what was the old memory, old imprint, and now rationalize why that thing is not any longer true today. I am a different person. I want to be happy. I don't want to be stuck in this hell. We need to know, we need to want. So start acknowledging the past or the old behavior, but now you say, what is the reason for me to change and put in place other things? Is to say, well, it's not no longer valid today. I wanted to get out from this hell. I don't want to be stuck in this anymore because there are people that stays there almost sometimes unconscious or sometimes as a habit to be victimizing, to be to be the victims, to jeopardize their life. They feel that there is more comfortable to be in that hell. Is the same situation that Haroldo said, that dog that was on the top of the some kind of rug and crying, etc. And then the person, why this dog doesn't get is crying? Oh, because there is a nail there. Why he doesn't get out from the top of that rug that has the nail? Because the pain is not big enough for him to have this need to make the effort to get out from that situation. So we sometimes stay in little hell because the hell or the difficulties to see other ways for us in that moment seems more painful. Only when we say, no, the pain that I'm here is unbearable. Anything I'll do to get out from that. So once we put new thoughts, so that thinking is very important. And only we think with the rational part, not the amygdala. Amygdala stays in that old thing running instinctively. Now I rationalize and say, put the new and put forward, putting together the old memory, confronting it, says, now I don't want that thing, that event there. Let me move. What to do? How can I get out? Can I get out from that? So once we change our way to the new way, the cells change because all the neuro, like Bruce Lipton says, You know, everything is epigenetics, is not hardwired, is soft wired. We change with habits. Our neurochemical environment we change through the bloodstream, going to the brain, etc. The level of serotonin, dopamine versus other stress hormones will change. And that will imprint new memories in my cells. So, like oxytocin, that is the nurturing, loving, is the neurochemical of love and nurture, will build up instead of those of hatred, stress hormone, etc. You know, so the memory is not permanent. Even the cell memory is not permanent because of
Thank
the
you.
new epigenetics. Yeah.
Thank you, Yasko. And this is also a great reminder for us to dive into these studies, right? The books that you shared with us, and if you can also share with us later on, again, the book.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The
Yes,
language is so nice. I read twice.
send
So
send
good.
us on the send it to us on the group as well, so we can share with
I'll
others
say,
if they
yeah,
later other people also later on come and
it's
ask
very
as
nice
well.
to read. Yeah.
Abby comes and says, "Thank you, thanks, Yasko. Very enlightening and positive talk." And then Daniel asks, "How about those who does not recognize his or her mistakes? How will they learn from it?" Hmm.
They don't learn from that. We all have faces, that we don't want to admit and recognize. Honestly, we think we didn't make mistakes. They are not called mistakes. They are, how to say, alternatives. You have your way to see. I have mine. I don't call mistakes. Only we define that was a mistake when we recognize that act caused some pain, some uneasiness to me, to my physical health, or to my emotional health, and to others that are around me that I love, even those that I don't love, I feel I made a mistake. But until then, no, we keep. That's why we are so long time coming back to this planet Earth in so many incarnations, because we did not admit that was a mistake. When Paul of Tarsus was chasing the first Christians, the Jesus followers, he didn't know. He he didn't say he was making mistakes. He was following the law. He was just doing what he was supposed to do by the people from the temple. Moses, that were the authority of Moses' law. He was just putting in practice the law. He was the one to ensure the Moses law would be applied. So even if that means kill someone by stoning, that's what he did. He killed Stephen. Only through suffering, when he said, "Why me with all my authority, power, richness, good family, good career. I will be the priest, high priest. Why I'm feeling so unhappy?" And those that are in that house of mention of the house, a mention of the way, Peter, all those very humble fishermen, farmers, they seemed, even Stephen, that was dying after being stoned, he showed happiness, harmony, peace, and said, "Don't condemn Saul." He just didn't say he doesn't know what he's doing, but he didn't. So once during his journey from Jerusalem to Damascus in that heat, he starts saying, wait a minute, why I'm feeling, I lost my beloved uh, um, Abigail. Even she I lost. She said that one day I will be, her side, their side. Why they have this peace of mind and me with everything I'm feeling so miserable. So in that moment, feeling so miserable, not guilty yet. He was not feeling guilty of being killed, condemned and killed Stephen, or being after the Christians, after Ananias. No, he just was, why I'm not feeling that peace of mind in their heart that they felt, and I'm not feeling with all this. And then when Jesus appeared in correct moment, that thing fell into his soul, and he realized, because of course the magnetism of Jesus saying those words, why you are like that, why you are after me. And then he realized, and when he realized that, he was the iconic figure because he didn't see the past anymore. Tell me what I should do. I'll do it. And he did the best of anyone to be the to spread the news, the doctrine of Jesus. So he was really the chosen vase, So, but you see, he didn't. Once he realized, and we are like this, once we realize we made a mistake, we're gonna grow so fast. And we did in many
Mhm.
situations already, right? We did. Because I don't want even to think what I did in my past 2000 years ago. I don't want to even think about. But today it's good because I don't want even to think about those actions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just kind of look around and see, where we are and the people who we reincarnate with, the times that we were in, right? That can tell a whole lot. We don't have to try to rescue exactly what happened because I don't think we have the capability to understand. But just a follow-up question on this, as you were saying, Yasko, would this be a application, if we can say it that way, of the law of preservation? Because sometimes we don't want to move on and we don't want to kind of connect with that old being that made a mistake because in a way it's a self-preservation saying, you know what, I don't want to touch that because I'm going to have to change. I mean, on the other hand, it's a lack of application of the law of of that propels us in the future, right? The
That's
law of
true.
progress, right?
Mhm. Well, because how many millions of years we stay in that mode, instinct mode, before our neocortex was developed. It was there important. The reptilian and the limbic area was crucial for us to be alive, to get out from the predators, to survive. Instinct of preservation. Yes, we have to survive, right? That's why that area was so important to trigger, to fire up, to come out, because otherwise we will be dead. We're gonna fall again. But now, today, with our frontal cortex nucleus so developed, and we still have this old, which is a new part of the brain, but that old brain that is millions of years older than the frontal cortex is still there, but has to be tamed, has to be controlled only by rational part of the brain. And for that, I need the memory too. I have to go back, bring that in new perspective. Without that, we cannot compare. We
Hmm.
need so it is not only comfortable to stay in the old habit, but it was a way to preserve ourselves. But today is going against us if we stay, because we now got getting stuck, and we have to move on. We
very
cannot
well.
stay anymore because now we know. Once we
Right,
know, we have the responsibility because now I have the free will. I have the way to think about. Before, as a wild animal, wild in the primitive man, of course not.
right, right. Well, let's move on. We do have a couple more comments and one question from Kirsten here. Rosaldo said, Yasko, it's so nice to have you here with us. Thank you for this wonderful message. Daniel commenting on his message on your answer for his question. He says, good answer, Professor Akava. And then Irasema saying, Yasko, you all, as always, bring us fantastic topics. And then Kirsten comes and we will make this the final question. Could you expand on why the saying "love covers a multitude of sin" pertains to guilt, past mistakes?
Yeah, because we all made multitude of sin. There is no one that did not make sins. Multitude. How I'm gonna get out from that? I cannot pay, redo, and all the sin that I commit. How many murder I commit? I cannot pay back for each of these murder. As a murder, as a sin, I cannot, as a law of action and reaction. No. Now, if instead, okay, I hurt someone, well, I hurt, the person got hurt. I cannot change that. That suffering that I cause is there. How can I do better now if I cannot do change that part that I, well, is to love someone that may probably make the same mistakes, someone that are suffering and is there because the one that was victim of myself move on, is in another planet, is another level. I cannot get it back and say I'm sorry. Even to say I'm sorry, I can't, because the person was such a good spirit that is in another level. It's like Livia and Publio Lentulus. How can Publio Lentulus go to Livia and ask for forgiveness and try to repair that with her? That's impossible because she is in another level. To talk to her, he has to get Emmanuel. Now Emmanuel has to get a special, how to say, authorization to talk to her up, for her to go down and he get a little bit up for 15 minutes. And he missed the whole existence 2000 years ago by dismissing so badly his wife that came in that incarnation just to help him. But he didn't accept. He condemned her of her motherhood. He didn't allow her anymore to exert her motherhood to Flavia. But now what Emmanuel can do is love to others. So if he apply the love, all those multitude of sins are erased. Because love has this power to multiply, because once that person that's near me feels my love, that person is in a chain reaction. We will also spread the love to the ones around them, to the children, to the wife, to even to the pets, to the animals, to the flora, to the plants. So love has this capacity when we learn how to, of course, to exert correctly. But we are far from that also, right? We are very far because we put condition to love. Our love is all is full of condition. So I think it has this capacity to erase our mistakes, not to that given person, but me. I can learn, I can change, and I can be a better person and create a good environment, a good planet for people that are now with me. I don't. The last part of her thing, I don't know if I missed what Kirsten put it there. Uh, Seeing
Yep,
potential.
you did.
Yeah,
Yes, you did. Yeah.
guilt
It,
has.
it, Yeah, and it's so enlightening because it really gives us the a better projection of ourselves into the future, right? As we analyze the past and our condition in the now, it's the only way truly that we'll be able to kind of look at ourselves in the past and not only to take care of this condition now, but also that if it happens again, a new event or we make another mistake, we will start to condition ourselves to not take so long to do this work. So I am very
Yeah,
thankful that you brought
guilt.
this.
Guilt is very important to feel guilt. If you don't feel guilt, we cannot have this impulse to repair.
Mm,
We cannot have it. We have to suffer with that. Once
right,
we suffer that with guilt, but we cannot be stuck in the guilt mode, because then I don't move to the next step and
mm,
I don't repair my actions. So the sustained guilt, the one that paralyzes us, the mistakes that paralyze us, it doesn't take us to any place. Get halt our evolution, halt,
thank you. Yeah,
and halt in a painful mode, which is horrible. Because if you halt in a rather comfortable situation, it's okay. But in a painful mode, it's that torture.
mm,
Feeling. That's why people that made so murder, etc., that is in the spiritual world, that image of him killing the person, killing that loved one, made a mistake, etc., is over and over. It's so clear, the memory. What they want, out of the mercy of God, they ask for incarnation. They're allowed to incarnate. Because why? Because the memory is shut down. I It's a relief moment, the incarnation, because now with the forgetfulness of the past, we can move on. And once we move on, we are a new person. Now I realize I'm not any longer that murderer, cold murder. No, I'm
right.
not any longer. So I can even look at myself as that person that in the past, but not to feel the pain, that excruciating pain anymore, because now I'm a changed person.
Thank you, Yasko. Just as a final comment, Kirsten actually posted instinct equals always reliable, and then passions not reliable, right? So it's very interesting that you brought this to us. We are glad to have you back. We're glad to have you here with us. And your explanation truly invites us to study, to go deeper and get curious about ourselves, as we also have to do this analysis. And the only thing that we can ask as members of the SSB, workers of the SSB, whatever name we would like to put it, is for us to truly try this in a kind manner, right? Not in a judgmental way, because that's not, our intention. And if you need any help, let us know. We're here to help. We're here to talk about it. More than ever, we're entering. I'm actually. Um, seeing it that we're entering this age right now, and I say age in general, right, for all of us, for many of us, whether young of age or not, that we're at least recognizing that we have to make some changes, and that is so beautiful. That is
Oh,
so, it's such a
it's ever
beginning that it really. right, that helps us. So thank you for this message. We would
Mhm.
like to invite you as well to say the final prayer,
Thank
so we can bid ourselves farewell. Thank you. And
you.
thank you, everyone, for connecting with us.
Thank you so much, all the friends that were together in this event. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I know you are there, with me. So let's together prepare ourselves for this prayer, raising our thoughts, the best one that we have, to the Almighty, our Creator, to our Master Jesus, our old brother, our guide, our model, all our mentors that are following us, accompanying us in so many incarnations. Thank you so much for being with us, especially in moments that we are distracted, making mistakes, sometimes unconsciously as a habit, small or big mistakes. Nevertheless, hurting us, hurting others around. We still ask for you to be with us, to keep inspiring us, warning us for change, to be aware of our mistakes, and strengthen our soul for changing. Please helping us to be willing to change, to be courageous to change, to ask for forgiveness, whatever is necessary. So let's leave our fear outside. Let's face our mistakes with the help of our benefactors. We ask all the high spirits, Jesus, the governor of this planet, please take care of this planet. We are passing through very challenging moments. It seems that we didn't learn from the past mistakes, but so many already passed through this learning. So for sure, we're gonna make through this better than in the other evil events of wars that we pass. Please be with us, be with all the human beings, the ones that are already aware, the ones that are still in the sleep mode. Still, we're gonna get there one day. Thank you so much for being with us, and so be it.